The laughter came easily at first, light and careless, the kind that floats out without thinking and leaves no trace behind. It happened on a cracked concrete floor inside a small auto repair shop on the edge of Cleveland, Ohio, where oil stains had soaked into the ground like memories no one bothered to clean up. What began as a harmless joke would soon become a moment so heavy with truth that it would shake two very different lives at once. When a well-dressed woman casually asked a poor mechanic for financial advice, expecting nothing more than an awkward smile, she had no idea that his answer would cut through her certainty and expose a wisdom she never imagined could exist in a place like this. If you believe in kindness, humility, and second chances, take a moment right now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel, because stories like this remind us that life-changing lessons often come from the most unexpected places. Nathan Brooks had spent most of his life being overlooked. At 41, his hands were permanently marked by grease and small scars, his shoulders slightly hunched from years of bending over engines that were never quite fixed the first time. He worked long days at a struggling mechanic shop, earning just enough to keep the lights on in his small rented home and cover the medical bills left behind by a past that had never been kind. People saw his worn boots, his faded work shirt, and the quiet way he kept his head down, and they decided his story before he ever spoke. What they didn't see were the nights he spent reading old finance books salvaged from thrift stores, the notebooks filled with careful calculations, or the discipline he had built after losing everything once and vowing never to let ignorance ruin his life again. Across town, Caroline Whitman lived in a different world entirely. At 34, she was a rising figure in a regional investment firm, confident, polished, and surrounded by people who spoke in numbers and forecasts. She had grown used to being listened to having her opinions validated by conference rooms and clean glass offices. That afternoon, her luxury car broke down on a route she rarely traveled, forcing her into Nathan's small shop. Annoyed, impatient, and slightly amused by the contrast between her tailored clothes and the rough surroundings, she filled the waiting time with casual observations and subtle judgments she didn't even realize she was making. The question slipped out with a smile that carried more playfulness than respect. She asked Nathan what he thought she should do with her money, expecting an answer as empty as the shop around her. What she received instead was a calm, thoughtful response rooted not in theory but in survival. Nathan spoke about living below one's means even when income rises, about avoiding debt that feeds ego instead of security, about patience being the most valuable investment anyone could make. His words were not rehearsed, not flashy, but heavy with lived experience. They carried the weight of mistakes paid for in years, not percentages. Something shifted in Caroline as she listened. The humor drained from her expression, replaced by a stillness she wasn't used to. Nathan wasn't trying to impress her. He wasn't trying to prove anything. He was simply telling the truth as he understood it, stripped of buzzwords and performance. For the first time in a long while, Caroline felt uncertain, not about markets, but about herself. She had built her confidence on knowledge gained in classrooms and offices, yet here stood a man who had learned the same lessons through loss, discipline, and quiet resilience. In the days that followed, Caroline couldn't let the moment go. She returned to the shop under the excuse of a follow-up check, then again with questions that were no longer jokes. Nathan never changed his tone. He spoke with the same humility, never pretending to be more than he was, never asking for recognition. He shared how he rebuilt his finances after bankruptcy, how he tracked every dollar, how he avoided shortcuts because shortcuts had once destroyed him. Slowly, a connection formed, not one of status or advantage, but of mutual respect. Caroline began to reassess her own life. She saw how much of her success was built on image, on appearing confident rather than being grounded. She noticed how easily she dismissed people whose lives didn't mirror her own. Nathan, in contrast, had nothing to prove, and that made his advice powerful. She brought his perspective into her work, simplifying strategies, focusing on sustainability rather than speed. Clients responded. Her work deepened. And with every change, she remembered where the shift had begun. Nathan's life changed too, though more quietly. Caroline helped him find resources to formalize his financial knowledge, not as charity, but as recognition. Opportunities opened slowly, carefully, without spectacle. Yet the greatest change was internal. Nathan saw that his experiences, once a source of shame, had value. That wisdom did not belong only to those with titles or money. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and engage with this video. Your support helps bring stories of humility, growth, and unexpected wisdom to more people who need them. Before the ending, we have a special request for you. Please comment below and tell us honestly, have you ever underestimated someone, only to realize they had more to teach you than you expected? The laughter that once filled the shop that day never returned, but something far greater took its place. Respect. Understanding. And the quiet realization that true wealth isn't always found in banks or offices, but in the hard-earned lessons of those who survive, learn, and keep going when the world assumes they have nothing left to offer.